It was a show based on a comic that, initially at least, didn't deviate too far from its source material. It didn't try to hide its origins, but instead embraced the cheesiness, aiming to be a fun show based on the adventures of a woman named Diana. Television in the 1970s wasn't exactly awash with female action stars or superheroes. While there had been Batgirl and Catwoman appearing regularly in Batman in the late 60s, it took until the mid-70s before we'd see women headlining their own action series. There was The Secrets of Isis, Electra Woman and Dinah Girl, both Saturday morning kids shows, and of course, The Bionic Woman. But one show in particular took a comic character created in the 1940s and caught the public imagination. Eventually. Created by William Moulton Masters and first published in 1941, Wonder Woman was DC Comics' first popular comic book starring a female superhero. While she'd appeared in cartoons, by the early 70s, live-action appearances were limited to an unbroadcast and dire short film for a potential late 60s sitcom produced by the same people who made the Batman series. It was abominable in the same way as making tea by putting the milk in before the water, which itself is like paying tax. It's just not done by classy people. It wasn't until 1974 when a live-action Wonder Woman TV movie hit the small screen. Wonder Woman starred Cathy Lee Crosby as a blonde Diana in an action-adventure spy caper typical of contemporary television. While it downplayed many elements of the comics and didn't rate all that well, the ABC network thought the premise had potential and commissioned a new pilot, one more in keeping with the source material. This second movie was broadcast in late 1975 and starred newcomer Lynda Carter as Diana in a reasonably faithful adaptation of her origin story. Set during World War II, this incarnation started with American pilot Major Steve Trevor being shot down near the secluded Paradise Island, inhabited by Amazonian women. Steve Trevor is nursed back to health by the Princess Diana. No, not that one. This one. Her curiosity is piqued, and she elects to explore the world of men after transporting the injured pilot back to 1940s Washington, D.C. There she begins her double life as Diana Prince, yeoman in the US Women's Naval Reserve and assistant to Major Steve Trevor, and as Wonder Woman.
You say these men robbed your bank?
Yes. This wonderful woman in the bathing suit stopped them.
Fighting for our rights in her satin tights. I'm quoting from the theme song here. In an era where very few superheroes on the big screen seem to care about hiding behind a secret identity, it seems quaint, but Steve Trevor is kind of a prize-clueless goof.
Thanks, Diana. I know you do a wonderful job, but I'm afraid this calls for a really gorgeous girl, someone who looks great in a bathing suit.
He has about as much chance of realising Diana and Wonder Woman are the same person as a fun-sized packet of M&Ms with Halloween branding has in seeing out November 1st. After the mixed response to the earlier movie, former Batman 66 scriptwriter Stanley Ralph Ross was brought in to oversee this new version of Wonder Woman.
You're wonderful.
Well, you're not so bad yourself, Wonder Woman.
While the series is not as high camp as Batman, you can see how this new version feels a lot more fun than that first TV movie.
Peter was the worst of all. Peter Knight? He's a Nazi spy. Does Steve know that? Well, I told him, and he went out to talk to him. I had to leave, so I don't know what happened.
The only thing dark and gritty here is the coffee. The movie was successful enough that a 13-episode series followed in 1976, directly following on from the pilot. In typical fashion, the series mainly dealt with Nazi spies in and around 1940s Washington, D.C., rather than having Diana storming Normandy Beach. Lynda Carter quickly grew in confidence in her role as Diana Prince, playing her as a relatively confident woman, rather than a bumbler, like Clark Kent was often portrayed.
No, it's too dangerous. It could be a trap or an ambush. Either way, it's dangerous.
War is dangerous, Diana.
As Wonder Woman, Diana had her unique outfit. Rather risque for the 1940s, but I don't really see anyone complaining. A rope lasso that would compel evildoers to tell the truth, though realistically the outfit was enough to work on most men. Metallic bracelets that could deflect bullets, and a tiara that could also be used as a boomerang. Diana also had an invisible plane that gave people on the ground an absolute eyeful whenever she flew overhead. Whoa. Diana, of course, was crushing on her boss, Major Steve Trevor, but he was crushing on Wonder Woman, and as it was the 1940s, everyone went home alone, grumpy and frustrated, falling asleep cradling an empty bottle of scotch.
I guess I'm just A little jealous, that's all.
No matter how much Andros would have wanted Wonder Woman to go back with him, I'm sure she'd rather stay here with you. With us.
Steve Trevor was played by Lyle Waggoner, always charming, slightly patronising, and forever clueless about why Diana and Wonder Woman were never in the same room at the same time.
I hear you're from Paradise Island, Diana. I have a friend from there. Perhaps you know her.
Waggoner plays the role with just the right amount of tongue-in-cheek, and while the show is an action drama, the producers never let you forget the fact the source material is a comic book.
You see, there's no propeller.
Throughout the first season, Diana takes on Nazi spies, Nazi saboteurs, Nazi sympathisers, Nazi apes, Nazi Bradys, a Nazi Wonder Woman called Fausta, Nazis impersonating Wonder Woman. In fact, a whole lot of Nazis. Nazis, Nazis, Nazis. We also met Diana's sister Drusilla, aka Wonder Girl, and of course longtime side character Etta Candy was often providing comic relief. This being the 1970s, almost everyone spends time complimenting Wonder Woman on her appearance, but as this was also a family show, she's rarely hit on.
You always have such a good figure.
The flip side is, she also very rarely dates anyone. Still going. Wonder Woman as a show is remembered for several things, and none of them rhyme with compelling scripts or amazing acting, apart from the episode Schmumpelling Schmips and Schmazing Schmacting. What people remember is Lynda Carter's charm and physical presence, a wonderfully unique theme tune, and of course her transformations from Diana to Wonder Woman. Rewatching this series, you can see which elements needed time to get right, as the early transformations were just slow-motion striptease sequences. Ratings for the show were decent, but the network delayed a decision on renewal, and rival network CBS made a play for the show. Still going. The second season, now entitled The New Adventures of Wonder Woman, saw a pretty major retooling of the series for its move to CBS. The new season of Disco Wonder Woman would be set in the then contemporary late 1970s, with Diana returning to the world of men to discover her crush, Steve Trevor, had died, possibly of old age, possibly from a sore neck from too much looking up in the sky looking for invisible planes. But as luck would have it, his son, Steve Trevor Jr., was exactly the same age as her Steve Trevor, and he was an intelligence officer for the IADC, an acronym that stood for something that made it sound like the CIA. But not the CIA. But really, it's the CIA.
There is no organization, only myself, Wonder Woman. And as for age, I will be 2,527 years old on my next birthday.
Yeah.
Through a series of leaps of logic, Diana also becomes an agent of the IADC, so she can be near the son of the dead man she had a crush on but abandoned 35 years previously. The show doesn't go there, so we won't either. Oops, too late.
Who are you?
Never mind who I am. Where's Steve Trevor?
In this new series, there's almost no flirting between the two, so there's really no point in Steve Trevor being around at all, apart from the fact Lyle Waggoner was so likeable in the role.
Wonder Woman?
Shipping was hard in the 1970s. Let's see how they're doing. Yep, still going. The show now felt like a lot of other action shows of the time, so the only main point of differentiation between Wonder Woman and the Bionic Woman was that Diana wore a sparkly costume. The plots are a lot more standard crook of the week with occasional fantastical elements, interspersed with slightly more comic book type stories with the likes of Roddy McDowall making volcanoes, or the occasional alien. In Season 1, an alien played by Tim O'Connor had come to Earth and become good friends with Diana. In Season 2, his son appears and the relationship with Wonder Woman is a little creepy and complicated. I don't know, maybe Diana likes relationships with fathers and their sons. Yes, I am fully aware of what's on the screen right now. You gotta give him a break, it was before mobile phones were around. Alas, most plots though wouldn't be that out of place in an episode of Charlie's Angels. So there are stories with pop stars featuring actual pop stars in the roles, who are now thankfully long forgotten. Diana received a slightly altered costume and a new invisible jet, as well as a diving outfit. As the series progressed, you can feel the pinch of constant retooling with elements of the IADC moved around every few weeks, with Steve Trevor being promoted to Diana's boss, but Lyle Waggoner appearing less and less on screen.
All the world is waiting for you.
By the third season, plots would focus less and less on aliens and spies, and more on teenagers. The show was getting a nip here and a tuck there every few episodes, culminating in a last-minute setup for a potential fourth season. Diana had been transferred to the Los Angeles office, given a new grumpier boss and an indestructible co-worker with an immortal chimp sidekick. And in the midst of a top security establishment, some kid hustler walks in off the street as if he owns the place. Mercifully, that's where the show ended. Because I can't tell you what's going on with this woman. Still going. After 3 seasons, Wonder Woman hung up her spangly cape and flew off in her invisible jet. Shortly after takeoff, 3 nearby plane spotters were arrested for gross indecency. Not reading anything into it, but Wonder Woman and or Steve get tied up a lot. Sometimes gagged. Quite a lot. No, I'm not reading anything into it. Not at all. Nope. No siree. Not one bit. Nope. Well, maybe a little. There's a lot of action in this series, with pioneering stunt performers doubling Wonder Woman, such as Jeannie Epper and Kitty O'Neil, taking on all sorts of action sequences. If Wonder Woman is wearing flat-heeled boots, it's an action sequence. After the series, Lynda Carter went off to concentrate on a singing career, and by virtue of having been so iconic, making life difficult for any other actress being considered for the role, there was an attempt to make a Justice League movie by Mad Max director George Miller that would have cast Australian model Megan Gale in the role. There was also a 2011 pilot starring Adrian Palicki, later from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and The Orville, but it wouldn't be until 2016's Batman v Superman that we got a Wonder Woman that stuck, with actress Gal Gadot making her mark on the role. Her solo movie, 2017's Wonder Woman, was a critical and commercial smash, one of the few beloved successes of the DCEU at that time. Almost there. Watching the show in a post-Gal Gadot world is an interesting experience. It starts off strongly, cheesy but fun. Then it loses a hell of a lot of charm once the period changes to the 1970s. The chemistry between Carter and Waggoner is great, but like most shows of the era, almost completely ignored. The show also does get progressively worse and worse as it runs on, with Diana's hats getting more and more outrageous, looking less and less like a government agent and more like a badass pimp. Yay, they made it! The weird thing is that after all of the retooling the show received over its 3-year run, it ended up closer to the original rejected Cathy Lee Crosby movie. In other words, a contemporary action series. Wonder Woman was a show that I used to watch whenever it was on in repeats, usually on a Sunday afternoon, or years later on cable TV. It was always much more fun than contemporary shows like The Incredible Hulk or Bionic Woman. If you remember it from your childhood, it's something you'll have a lot of fun with. But if you've never seen it before, I'd say check out the first season and see how you like it. And if you really enjoy it and you want to see more of Lynda Carter, maybe check out the later seasons. The Wonder Woman series is a delicate balance of poise and goofiness that eventually overbalances and becomes a standard 70s cop show with a woman who occasionally wore a sparkly costume to beat up crooks. It's still some of the very finest 1970s vintage cheese, and fun to lose yourself in the oh-so-disco adventures of Diana Prince and her alter ego, Wonder Woman. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment below, or check out some of our other videos.